everybody. Getting set up. Nana Cindy, welcome back. Oh, it's chilly outside. I think I need to close my window. Today's part 2 of the cat stitch shrug tutorial. I have the majority of my sleeve done. You can find how to make the sleeve, how to tailor the sleeve to your fit. Part 1 is on my YouTube channel. It's the cat stitch. They're little cats. And we're just going to make a shrug out of it. You could totally make a whole sweater out of it if you wanted to. I'm just making a shrug, which is like a short sweater. It just comes over your shoulders, and there's really no front to it, and then it just comes across your back. So it's like a scarf with the ends tied up like sleeves. And I'm looking for my needle, which I must have dropped at some point. Ignore. I'm down to one needle. I keep losing them. I'm sure they're in the graveyard down here. Hi, Arlene. Hi, Serena. Everybody that's joining. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Trying to see everybody that that's joining me here. I'm not real sure what's going on. For some reason everything's like delayed and lagging. Cindy, this is like, I think it's getting loose. Good morning, Cindy. Oh, I know, it's getting loose. Oh no. There we go. I got it tightened up. All right. I really do have to find my needles in the graveyard there. Oh, there it is. I'll put that back in the package then. Alrighty. I know, really. My mom just did that a couple years ago. She downsized, went from her huge house, and they moved into an apartment. And boy, let me tell you what. Oh, thank you, Serena. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. And she loves it. Oh, I know I have too much junk. All right, so I have my sleeve just about done. This was yesterday's tutorial. I think I'm going to do one more row, and no, it does not fit my daughter because it doesn't fit her on the top of her arms. So I'll have to make another one. And I think I might actually do one more row of the cats. And then at the top of that row, see, so each row of cats is 3 rows, 3 rounds around. So the third round around, I'm going to see how I can manage to split this so that it, we can start working the scarf portion across the back. So I'm just going to join it where I left off. And I'm going to do my one more round of, or my 3 more rounds to make my row of cats. and figure out from there how I'm going to split it. So I'm just going to keep on trucking here. Apple user, thanks for joining. I see your name pop up on my page. I do pay attention to things like that. At least I try to. Isabel, Cindy, thank you for all the likes. And this cat stitch is just basically double crochets and chains. And I did go over yesterday how to do this stitch and how we were going to put it together in the round. I also went over in yesterday's tutorial how to adjust the fit for your size. And I just about finished my sleeve yesterday. Today I'm going to finish this sleeve and we're going to work across half of the back and only half of the back, because when we make the second sleeve we're going to do the other half of the back and then we're going to join them in the center. And you kind of have to trust the process. Even though we're joining them in the center, it will still look right. And this is not a pattern. This is simply me picking a project and freestyling it, and you guys get to listen to my thought process, my craziness, my crazy dog. Crazy dog's going to get knocked out one of these days. Go lay down. Go lay down. Did anybody else get a sleeve finished? Or just about finished? Almost all the way around. And for those of you that watched yesterday's tutorial, I had started my rounds a little bit differently with like a seam stitch in the center, and I did actually rip that out and just make it so it just continuously went around. So if you did yours with a seam stitch in the middle, splitting the rows is probably going to be a little bit easier than it will be for me. I don't know. I'll have to see. Give me a minute. I'll be right back. Because at that point, all you would do would be to put your 2 double crochets into your seam stitch, thus splitting that seam stitch into 2 pieces. And I'll show you that when I get to that point, which I'm almost there. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about that, guys. round 2 of this row of the cats. Thank you for all the likes. I really appreciate it. This cat stitch here, it can be worked in rows, which is how it's typically worked, but I kind of modified it so that I could work in a round for my sleeves, because I don't know, when I'm doing sleeves I prefer to work in the round. I don't like the sewing part of it, the stitching things and making seams part of it. But that's just my preference. Some people like to work their pieces flat and prefer to work their pieces flat and stitch them together. It's just a personal preference. So this is round 2 of this row of cats. And now I'm not sure where I need to split it, so I'm going to just take a look. I'm going to start this top shell here, because I know I at the very least have to do that. So where would I split these cats? So I'm going to look down here where I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to split them, since I did it this way. I'm probably going to have to split them with the next row of cats and just do like a paw on each end, and then maybe a double crochet. So I'm definitely going to do my third round of this row of cats. Cats. I love the cats. They're so cute. And then split it with my pink row. So I'm going to finish this round here with the gray. I'm getting a lot of ends in there. I'm not going to be happy when I have to tie them all in. I do have probably about half of them tied in already. So this is the third round of this top row of cats. And this is something that if you wanted to make like an off-the-shoulder crop sweater, or just a regular crop sweater, or just a regular sweater, you could still use this same concept for the sleeves to make your sleeves, and then just work your rows back and forth to do your front and back panels of your sweater, and then just stitch your sleeves on. And after I finish this round off, and this color off, after these last few shells here, we're going to work on trying to split this so that we can make a flat paneled scarf for the back portion, just like we did with the last shrug. Alrighty. Oh, yikes. Yeah, I do. This is going to be, I'm just going to do the back part just like this. I'm just going to split it just like we did with this one. I'm just going to split it and start working in rows back and forth. So this we just started working, we stopped working in rounds and started working in rows, and it gave us the back part of it. This stitch is kind of forgiving. Yes, it looks like cats when you look at it, but it also looks like funky stripes. So when you're looking at it this way, you're going to see cats. So to continue with the stripes up and down across the back isn't really going to look all that funny. It's going to actually look right because it's going to tie the design in. It's not going to change the direction of anything. But yeah, it's a shrug. So it's an all-in-one sweater. So the shrug, if I don't know if you saw this, Arlene, but this was the shrug. It's they're called boleros, is the name of the garment. But they're also called shrugs, and I will show you why here in a second, because, and this is the one that we did a couple weeks ago, they're called shrugs because when you wear it, it's like a scarf with sleeves, and because the way the design works, it just fits right over top of your shoulders. So like you would shrug your shoulders. So it's just kind of why they call it a shrug, because it just sits right over top of your shoulders, and then the back portion of it is just a little bit, it's a decorative thing, but it is also functional. Like I will wear it in the summer when I wear tank tops, because in the evenings here it gets chilly, so I'll take this with me. And I've also showed different ways that you can style something like this. Because it's long and it is like scarf-like, this would be something that if you were wearing something short-sleeved and you weren't sure if it was going to be chilly in the place, I mean, you could wear it as a scarf. You could also wear it as a cowl, which you would put the loop in front and the tails to the side, whether you wanted the seam part of the loop up or you wanted the seam part of the loop down. So I mean, the shrug is something that can be worn, depending on how you make it, can be worn a few ways. So that would be a couple of the ways that you could wear that. Especially when it's a looser crocheted, like this is a much looser crochet. This, because of the acrylic in it, I could do the same thing with it, but I would have to wash it first so the fibers loosened up so it would drape better, because anybody that works with acrylic yarns knows that they're stiff when you're working with them, but they do loosen up significantly and soften up once they're washed. And I kind of like that, because then I can see what I'm doing, and it just kind of, I don't know, holds that firmness while I'm crocheting, because I crochet so tight. I like that. And then everything kind of loosens up when I wash it. All right. So Cindy, I agree this is going to be interesting. Let me see how I can split these stitches, because now I have to get to a point. I swear I've lost more hair. I have to get to a point where I'm working back and forth in rows. So I want to maintain the integrity of my cats, but yet I want to split them up. So at some point I have to have two legs. So at some point I have to have two legs. One for the cat going this way, one for the cat going this way. So I think I'm going to have to start with the legs. So I think I'm going to start by putting, instead of starting in the top of my shell like I have been starting, and this is to split it to make the scarf portion. So instead of starting in the top of the shell like I had been starting, I'm going to, how am I going to do this? This is what you get from me. You get the, how am I going to do this to figure it out? So that's my midpoint. And this would be like a long double crochet. So I think, how would I do that? I think I would have to make this first one almost like a single crochet. Unless I, see, it doesn't look right if I just slip stitch it. So I'm going to do this one like a long single crochet join. So I'm going to insert my hook where I would insert my hook, which is down here for the leg. I'm not going to worry about this shell. This is where we would have normally start, but because we're splitting it, we have to start in a different place. I think I'm actually going to just join with a slip stitch here. So I joined with a slip stitch, and I'm going to chain two, and I'm going to then do my extended double crochet. Let's see how that looks. I think that's it. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let me show you that again. To start that, up here, and I know we're going to work through this loop to extend it to make the legs here, like we did here. But to join it at this particular point, because this is where we have to split it, so we get even cats on both sides. I joined that with a slip stitch, and I chained two, and then I came down and I yarn over my hook. And then down the same way we did for the rest of the cat legs, I came down here and I just did one extended double crochet. And that kind of gives the illusion of two. And then I'm going to work my shells all the way around, just like I did before. I work my shell on top of my shell. I get to the next, it's my shell on top of my shell. I get to the next area where I want to put a leg, and I'm going to do my extended double crochet, which is going to be my yarn over, down through this, pull it up to make it even with my shell, yarn over through two, yarn over back down in the same space, pull it up, yarn over, pull it through two, and then pull it through three, and that gives my next leg. And I'm going to continue all the way around to where I started. And my shells are just double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets in top of the other shell, and that is US standard terms. Hey Samantha. So again, another leg and another shell. And another leg. And another shell. And another leg. Whoops, I did 2 double crochets there instead of a cluster. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Yeah, how is everybody this morning? I just kind of jumped right in this morning. I woke up with a brain full, went to bed with a brain full, couldn't sleep very well. I don't know, just one of those nights. But I'm glad you guys are all here. And it looks like you guys are doing all well. That makes me smile. Whoops. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, this is the last shell. And because I'm making rows now instead of rounds, I have to kind of finish, like I have a leg here, like I have 2 legs here, 2 legs, like a leg on either side that gives me the cat head, right? A leg on either side. So I kind of have to finish this off with another leg. So I know you're looking at the tail at the back there. So just like I made the first leg in this space, I'm going to do the second leg in this space. So I'm just going to make one more extended double crochet cluster in that space. So now I have a cat here and a cat here, and they're going this way so that I can start making them in rows. Oh my God, such a simple word that just flew out of my brain. In rows. So, at this point, the other thing I have to consider is, am I going to put an edge on this? If I'm going to put an edge on this, I don't just want my paws, my legs here, and I don't think I can just leave. I mean, I guess I could work a leg and a leg. But I think for this I'm going to do like a double crochet. I'm just going to chain 2. And now I am going to turn because, again, I'm going to work in rows. So I'm going to turn. I'm actually going to chain 3, I think. I chained 3 there. And now I'm going to start working back with my shell on my shell. Because that's what the second row of the cat stitch is, just a shell on a shell. If I bite my bottom lip, I have less of a tendency to sit here in front of you with my mouth hanging open while I'm thinking. Because I catch myself doing that. And again, this time we turned because we're going to start making our flat back panel, which for me is probably only going to be maybe 3 rows to go from here to the center. Maybe 4 rows. 4 complete rows of the cats, which would be 3 stitch rows. I do. I sit here and the next thing you know I'm like just totally absorbed and surprised I'm not drooling on myself sometimes. Still working on that row of shells. Where's my, so I'm almost to where I split it. So that's where I split it. So I'm almost there. I have a couple more shells to do. Because again, now instead of working in rounds, I'm working in rows so that I can go across the back. But I'm not going to go all the way across the back. And those of you that watched the first tutorial when I said if you wanted to use a directional stitch, this is how you would do it. This is what I would consider a directional stitch because the cats go in a direction, like the heads and the feet, heads and the feet, heads and the feet, so that's directional. If the cats actually went the other way, I would have started in the middle of my back. But the cat heads, I wanted them to be up, so I ran them up. So if you were using a different directional stitch that like went in the other direction, you could start in the center of the back like we did with the last one and work down the sleeve. This one we did the opposite because we wanted the heads of our cats to face upwards. So now I did the last shell, and just like I did like a double crochet in this one here, the glare from the window, sorry. That's a little bit better. Just like we did this first double crochet here before we started our shells, after this shell, in this second arm or paw or leg or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to put a double crochet there. Right in there. So now I have my 2 legs, my 2 cats going in opposite directions, and I have a double crochet on either side, splitting that. So now colors. You actually understand what I'm doing. Well, I have one more row because the cat stitch is 3 rows. So I have that was my first row. This was my second row. So now I have to turn. So I'm going to turn my work and to 3 to make my first double crochet there. And then I'm going to work my shell and my shell all the way across like I would before. And this will be the last row that we do for the pink cats here. And then we'll switch then we'll change our colors again. Just like we did all the way up. There's 3 rows here. 1, 2, 3 rows. So we have to do the 1, 2, 3 rows before we switch our colors. Yep. It's the rows with the legs and the extended double crochet. So it's the extended double crochet and the shells, and then there's 2 rows of shell upon shell. So we're just doing the same exact cat stitch. We just altered the way we started it. We just altered the way we started it so that we could split it, so that we have even cats. So now when we do our next color, you'll see how we get another leg in here. So we'll have our legs going up and we have it split. So we have even cats and we're not like slicing our cat down the middle. I'd like to flay my cat sometimes when she comes in and walks all over me in the middle of the night. She's a crazy beast. I have a perch outside my kitchen window where she can jump onto, and she comes in the kitchen window, and then I have a shelf that is just for the cat underneath my kitchen window. Legs, head, and ears, yeah. Yep. That's a good way to put it. For some reason, my brain didn't put all that together. But there it is. Thank you, Cindy. Legs, head, and ears. Why didn't my brain put that together? But she will run, she'll jump up onto the perch, she'll run in the window if we open the window, and then she will sit on her shelf that we have inside the windows. That's where I put her food so that she can eat without the dogs eating all the cat food. And then she will take, I'm not kidding you, she'll eat maybe 2 or 3 pieces of kibble or nuggets, and instead of running out the window, even if I leave it open for her, she'll take 2 bites of food and she'll run to the front door. And then I have to let her back out. And if I let her, she'll do that all day long. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, every 5 minutes, she'll be at the window and then she'll run to the door. She'll be at the window, she'll run to the door. She makes me crazy. I know, you'd think for having, like, all of my kids being either adults or grown and independent, that I would have, like, time to, like, just actually sit, and I don't. You see the time that I sit and crochet is pretty much the time I sit and spend on my lives. And even then, like, half the time it's like somebody's chattering to me, or the dogs are running around, or the cat's meowing and wants in and out, and I'm not complaining. It sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm not really complaining. I find it more amusing than aggravating because it keeps me moving. And if it weren't for that, I would just sit here. I know. They all have me trained. because they all know that, like, I'm the peacekeeper, and they'll just get what they want so that I can have some peace. Right, I'm at the end of my row, and where I have my, I'm at the end of my row. I did my last shell here. I'm going to finish off with a double crochet in the top there. I'm going to refer to that, even though it's like a chain to start, a turning chain, I'm going to refer to it as my first double crochet, because that's what we're always going to refer to our chain 3 as, our first double crochet. So I'm just going to double crochet. Yep, they know we love them. Most animals do have their owners trained. Yep, they know we love them. So I'm going to just do my double crochet right in the top of that stitch there. And then I'm just going to do my infamous, I'm going to chain 2 and cut it and pull it through to make a knot. Oh. It's a cat in a box. I have a shipping box that's sitting there. And he's rolling around in it. All right. Next. So now we've totally split it. So this is going to start our scarf portion across our back. So now I'm going to take my next color, leave myself room to weave in. I know they love boxes. Oh, and I have bookshelves. Let me tell you what, thank God my bookshelves are like packed. They are packed. I have like shelves full of like crochet books, shelves full of like baskets that have like toys and games in them. I have, what else do I have there? Some trophies, video games, a shelf with video games on it. And if I have a space, if I pull something out of that shelf, off of one of those shelves, they try to squeeze into them. All right. So now we would turn, but I don't think I'm going to turn. So right, wrong, right. I think instead of turning, I'm going to do all of my first rows on the right side. So where I ended here, instead of turning and working back when I change my colors, I'm going to go to the opposite side. And that way, all of these stitches here are all going to stay on the right side of my work and not the wrong side of my work. So every time I start a new round of cats, which is 3 rows, legs, head, and ears, every time I start a new row of cats, I'm going to start on the right side of my work, with the right side of my work facing me. That way I get these stitches all in the same, because if you recall when we talked about increasing rows, you had to increase them in 2s to get them in the same, going the same direction. This stitch goes one way, the other way, so this would be the right side, this would be the wrong side, this would be the right side, and then when you got to the pause again, because it's the 4th row, it would technically end up being the wrong side, so you would see the opposite side of the legs, which look a little bit different than the right side of the legs. So anytime I join my colors, I'm just going to go right back to the right side of my work and join them again. I hope that made sense. So I'm not going to just turn where I left off with this. I'm going to just join with the right side facing me. And all my joins are going to be that way with the right side facing me. And just like the other joins, I'm going to start with a slip stitch in the top double crochet, too tight. A slip stitch in the top of that last double crochet there on the end there. And then 1, 2, 3 for my first double crochet. Cat in a box. And then I'm going to do my extended, after I've done my first double crochet here, I'm going to come down and do my first leg. So not in this hole, but this hole I'm going to do my first leg. My leg is a yarn over, and it's an extended double crochet cluster. So extended double crochet 1, extended double crochet 2. So now I have my double crochet and I have my cat leg. So you can see if you look at the legs on this side, it looks a little bit different than the legs on this side. So to keep them consistent, because it's 1, 2, 3, instead of going, so we're going this way with row 1, this way row 2, this way with row 3. Now instead of going this way with the next row 1, I'm going to cut, because I'm going to change the colors anyway, and I'm going to reattach it to the right side. So the right side is going row 1. Hey Janie. And then I'm going to just do that all the way across again. I'm going to do my shell and my shell. And then on to the next space where I'm going to do my extended double crochet cluster, which is just my, into that bottom space there, not into the top one, but in the bottom one. Pull my loops up even through 2 loops, yarn over, back into that same space, pull up my loops even through 2, and then through all 3. So now you see we have a cat on each side, or we will have a cat on each side at that point. So it makes our rows, so our cats aren't split in half. So now I'm going to keep going around this first row here. Just going to keep going all the way around the same way. I'm going to do my leg, then I'm going to do my shell and my shell. And then I'm going to come down and do my leg. And then I'm going to do my shell and my shell. My leg. And my shell and my shell. How are you this morning, Janie? How fun. My kids used to take swim classes. I always made them take, they always took swim classes, all of them, because when we came up to camp, which is where I actually live now, we were on the lake, so they would swim. So I always enrolled them in swim classes and was a little bit crazy. I would make them wear life vests when they were little, just in case. I had one that was a runner. All he would have to do is sneeze, and as soon as my eyes opened back up, he was gone. He made me crazy. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of that row. And this was the leg row. This is the last shell of the leg row. Leg row. The hair. And when I get to the end, I need one more leg. So not in this space, but this space down here, I'm going to do my cluster for my legs, and then I'm going to double crochet into that last stitch there after I've done my cluster. So I'm going to come down, and I'm going to do my cluster, and then I'm going to double crochet in that last stitch there. So the ends of my rows will always be a double crochet or a double crochet and a leg. See, I thought this would be the perfect color to show, and it is so not. It is important. Okay, so now I'm going to turn with my chain 3 from my first double crochet, and I'm going to do the head row of the cats. So this counts as my first double crochet, so I'm just simply going to start doing my shell and my shell all the way across. And I have to remind myself these shells are a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet in the same space. It's like a lump of yarn instead of a strand of yarn, I guess. Again, and we're not working in rounds anymore. We split up our cats, and we're just working the flat panel that goes across the back. Bite my lip. And I didn't even think to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so the same amount of cats that I had going around in my circles and my rounds, I have on the flat back panel. It's just going to be a little bit wider because I added an extra leg at the end of each row, but not much wider. Shades of red. Oh, that's going to be pretty. I was just reading this morning that reds and oranges are the colors for this year. Every once in a while I'll look up fashion trends just to get different color ideas. So you're spot on for apparently what's going to be the colors for this fall. I don't usually look for things like that for like ideas. but I look for the color ideas, not necessarily the style or design ideas. And apparently, if I wanted to make this in vogue for the fall this year, I would have done it red and orange. Okay, so I did my very last shell, and I'm going to skip my leg, and I'm just going to double crochet in that last double crochet there. So I have the leg in the last double crochet. I'm just going to skip it, and I'm going to double crochet in that double crochet. So that's our head row, and now I'm going to do my ear row. So I'm going to chain 3 for my first double crochet, and I'm going to turn my work again because just working in row, you have so much red. I don't think I have a lot of red. I think I might have a couple different skeins that have like reds in them. I bought some. I buy like sometimes like nicer yarns to make lacier shawls, and I have some. It's called Satchmeyer, and it's really pretty. It's got like, it's like black with like rainbow in it, but the predominant color is mostly red, so it looks mostly like black with reds and orange specks in them, almost like a Tweety look. And I just still don't know what I want to do with it. This is the ear row for the cat's ear. Is the last row of this color. And then I'm going to take a sip of coffee and see what I want to do, or how it fits at least, if it's starting to fit the way I want it to fit. This is my last shell. Last shell. This counts as my double crochet, so I'm then just going to double crochet in the top of that double crochet. So I have my shells and my shells, my double crochet over top of my double crochet, and now I'm going to fasten off this color. And this is where I was talking about before. I'm going to fasten off this color, and instead of turning my work, because you're looking at the wrong side of it, so instead of turning my work and working on the wrong side of it now for my legs, I'm just going to pick up the other side of my scarf, and that's where I'm going to start my legs. That way I'm always starting my leg row on a right side row. Alright, so is this coming the way I want it to come? I think so. Whoops. What am I doing? That is not the way that goes. So this would be under your arm and over your shoulder, like this. And if you looked at it from the back, I think I have some extra baggage there on the front that this isn't going to fit over. It's going to start coming across the back like this. So it'll start coming straight across the back. I just totally turned it the wrong way again. I'm going to be so full of static. There it is. That's what I wanted. So this is going to come straight across my neck like this, and then this part is going to come straight across my back like this. So it's not quite long enough to really get the gist of it, but so that's the same way we split it with dryer sheets. Oh, I do. I rub myself with dryer sheets all the time. So it's not quite long enough to pull totally flat yet, but like you see with this one, it's the same number of stitches that we went around in a circle. Same number of stitches that we went around in our circle, and then we just made, once we split it, we made our piece long enough that it was flat enough to fit across our back and over our shoulder. So that's what we're going to keep doing. So I have quite a few more rows, I think, that I have to do. And I might get away with just these, each skein of one of each. So I'm going to, again, attach my pink. And then come up here because I'm going to start, so I'm looking at the right side of it when I start. I'm looking at the right side of my piece when I start. And I'm going to attach it with a slip stitch and chain 3 for the first double crochet in the first double crochet. So I'm going to join it with a slip stitch. And I do pull that a little bit tighter there. And then my chain 3 for my first double crochet. And then to make my first leg, I'm going to do my cluster down in here. So I'm just going to go jump right into my cluster and pull it up and pull it up and close it. So now I have that leg for that cat. And then I'm going to do my head, or the neck maybe, my legs and neck, my shell and my shell. And then I get to the next point where I'm going to again do my leg, which is the extended double crochet cluster, which sounds fancy, but extended just means you make it longer. Cluster just means you put 2 of them together. And then my shell and my shell. My next leg. Shell in my next shell. That's my next leg, and now my shell and my shell. And I'll have another leg row done. At least this pattern works up quickly, because by the time you get a cat row done, you're like, oh, that was 3 rows. And it's rather tall. Another leg. Thank you for all the likes. I really appreciate it, and I'm really hoping I'm making sense here. But it's fun to take something that you see and then go, ooh, wouldn't that look nice if it was? And then be able to sit down and like figure it out and actually do that and make it that. Just like when we did this stitch and I went, ooh, wouldn't that look really cool as a shrug? So we sat down and we figured it out. That to me is the fun part. I love to do that part. Another leg. And most of what I do anymore is just that. It's just, oh, what if I did this? Or, oh, what if I did that? Another leg. I'm at the last shell. So I'm going to shell on top of my shell. And I have to do my last leg, so we're going to skip this one and go all the way down here to do our last leg. And then after we've done our last leg, we're going to double crochet in the very last stitch. So it'll be a leg and a double crochet in the last stitch. So I'm going to come down, not this one, and I'm kind of going to hold my tail up there so that my last stitch doesn't disappear. If it does, you can always pull it back out. So there's my leg, and this is my double crochet. That's my last stitch, so I'm just going to double crochet right into that stitch, that last stitch. And I have another cat. And I'm going to take all of these double crochet rows, so the ones that are open and the ones that are right beside the legs, and I'm going to do like a finishing stitch, like either single crochet around the entire that's okay. You like the way this creation comes together too. Yeah, it's just fun, and I don't know. It's really, when you think about it and you take it down and you break it down to the very, very simplest of, and I've said it again, hold your yarn, hold your hook, yarn over, pull through your loop. If you break it down to those very, very simple pieces of crochet, it's all pretty much the same thing. You're just doing them in different sequences. So now, same color, so I'm going to turn, chain 3 counts as my first double crochet, and you can see how it's starting to work up as a flat piece. And I'm just going to shell in each shell all the way across. And then before I go today, I'm going to finish this last row, and then I'm going to, even though it's not going to be my last row, obviously it's not going to fit me. If I just left it like this, it would not come and meet the middle of my back, which is ultimately where I want this flat panel portion of it to fall, right down the center. Sorry. But I am going to try to figure out how I want that center to be, so that if you guys want to work on this later, you can get to the center portion and finish off at least one sleeve. So almost around. Maybe I'll buy some chunky yarn to make my daughter's. She told me she likes, because it needs to be a little bit bigger from the top of her arms, and she informed me she likes her sweaters big and bulky. So maybe I'll tell her to pick out some chunkier yarn. I can make her one of these with some chunkier yarn. And that almost feels like cheating to me, because I won't have to use any more stitches because the yarn is bigger. So I won't have to make my stitch count bigger. Like, I think this sheepy yarn that I bought for the, I keep wanting to call them glowworms, the Snuggle Slugs. I'm at the very end. I'm going to skip the leg stitch. I'm going to skip the leg stitch, and I'm going to double crochet in the top of my double crochet here. So skipping the leg stitch, and I'm going to double crochet in the top of that double crochet. So that's my head row of the cats, and now I'm going to do my ear row of the cats. So I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to turn and shell in every shell. And then I'm going to sit and think about how I want to do the very, not cheating at all. Yeah, see, I don't think so. What do they say? Work smarter, not harder. I'm all for that. So this is the third row, the head row of my cat. And I did add a couple more inches there with this row, or this row of cats. So I am going to try it on just to see if I can get the shape to start looking like a shape. I'm glad I did not use a smaller hook. I would have totally just made this toddler size. Or else it would have just taken me forever. last row, last shell, I'm going to just double crochet in the last double crochet there. Thank you for all the likes. And then I'm going to fasten this color off. Oh, that's still definitely not going to be long enough, but it is starting to look like it's going to come across the back. So it is starting to look like it's going to fan out. But I definitely have at least 2 or 3 more rows to do before I get to the center here. But it is starting to come across. So you can see it's starting to come across there in the front. If I turn it around, I'm starting to get the shape that I want so that it starts to go across my back. I don't know if I can turn around, you can see that. So it'll just start to come across my back and up and over my shoulder. All those ends to weave in. Oh my God. I will live. I promise. I will spare you. I'll wait till you guys are on tonight and I'll weave in my ends while I chatter away. Okay, so just for teaching purposes, I'm going to pretend like this is the row that made it to the center of my back, or close, within like an inch or so. And how do I want to finish that so that I'm not making another row of cats? Well, I do want to make the legs in here so that it pulls the ears up. So I know that I want to add the row with the legs because I want it to pull the ears up. And I think I'm going to start... All right, I'm just going to start. So I'm going to start like I would start any other row. And again, I'm pretending like I have done this all the way up to the center of my back. So if you guys wanted to finish a whole sleeve, you would actually be able to finish both of them at this point. So I'm going to do, pretend that this is where I want it to be, with just enough room for a couple more rows in the center just to change the color and join it. So I'm going to take my sleeve and I'm going to join my yarn same way because I want this leg row. So I'm going to, or I at least want my legs there. So I'm going to join with my slip stitch to my double crochet and chain 3. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put my first leg, so all the way down, not in this loop, but in this loop, do my extended double crochet, cluster. It sounds fancier than it is, so I have my double crochet and my cluster. And I actually think, because if I look at it like this, so if I look at it this way, and I take my hook and I hold it over top of my stitches, I don't really need another cluster to get a straight line across there. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can do like, try some single crochets. Two, three. I think instead of doing a double crochet cluster in the top here, I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3. Will that give me like an ear? That will give me like an ear. And then, don't follow me yet. I'm just kind of trying. Will that give me enough of an ear? So looking at it from the right side, it does kind of give me enough of an ear. So I'm going to work all the way across and see how many stitches I end up with. I should end up with 50 or really close to 50. Well, I'm going to finish this one. I'm just showing you, I'm just kind of going through the process of how I'm going to do my middle rows, because your second sleeve, your first sleeve, right? Your first sleeve, you're going to make your first sleeve and try it on so that it comes, so that when you've tried it on, this comes to the very center with just a little bit of space, just a little bit of space for like the middle seam there. So when you try it on, and pretend this is the back that you're looking at, you're going to work this straight piece until it comes almost to the center. So you're going to keep going back and forth in rows until this comes almost to the center. So at that point, you're going to want to do that with both sleeves, because you want both sleeves to be even. So this is just like trial and error. So I am just now, so that if you guys wanted to go ahead and work to the center and finish the center, you could. I'm just kind of like playing with how I would do my stitches for my center, because if I start with the gray and I work the same amount, hypothetically, I'm going to end with the pink. And then I'm going to have a top row just to finish off on each side. So the second sleeve would be the same way. The second sleeve would end in the middle with the pink. And then I would do a couple of rows to just end my cat pattern. So when you work it this way, you should end with the same pink. And then you should be able to do the same couple of rows just for the center so that you can then stitch them together. And that's what I'm working on. I'm certainly not done, and I am going to pull this row out. I just want to figure out how I can get to that point. Or should I just wait for that until tomorrow? Should I just finish my sleeves and wait for this until tomorrow? My spot at your spot. Hey, your name's Melanie, right? Tomorrow, okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to wait too. That's what I thought. This morning I jumped on your live and I was like, wait a minute. Her name is Melanie, right? Just was totally going, okay, so I'll take this out. Since we decided we're going to ignore that last like 5 or 10 minutes or so, and we're just going to continue up And of course I'll have to weave in all those ends or it'll make me crazy. So this is the arm to our shrug with our cats. And we have worked it up. You could make a plain panel in the back if you wanted, and just the sleeves cats. I mean, it's your piece. You can do whatever you want. You can come to the point where you want to split it, and then you could just start working rows back and forth of just shells to the middle, or just single crochet or double crochet to the middle. I'm doing my cats all the way to the middle. So that's how this will pull out. So this will start pulling out, and I have quite a, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 more rows until I get to the center. Melanie, thank you for joining. Those of you that want to learn to do something other than like crochet, Melanie is like me, but she'll knit and she does other things, whereas I usually just crochet because it's the only thing I feel really competent to teach. That's exactly what this is. It's a bolero. It's a shrug. So we did last week miscellaneous stitch week, and this was one of the stitches we did, and I decided that, oh my god, that would look so cute as a sweater because they look like little cats. So we're making this into one of the bolero shrugs, like the other one I have with the beads on it. So I got to the point where I figured out how I can do my cat stitch in the round, which was yesterday. And then today I finished working it up and played with dividing my cats so that I still had even amount of cats on both sides. And I have like a running edge that I can put a finishing edge on. So now we just have to work till we get to the middle. Like I've got a ways to go yet until we get to the middle, and leaving like maybe an inch in the middle, because we're going to do like a stitch that kind of ties this all together and makes it a little bit flatter so that we can then stitch it together with it still looking like another, like the end of a row of cats with a smaller stripe in between as our seam. And then going down the other arm, of course, the cats would go this way down the other arm, so that when you wore it, the cats are this way down your sleeve where people are going to see it, and then you just have like these funky stripes that would end up being directional. So that's why we start or end in our middle this way, and then we'll end in the middle this way to get our shrug. But yeah, that's what I have here. Sleeves, and then we just split them till they fit across our back and our shoulders, and then we started working in rounds again down through the sleeves. Yeah, I'm a crochet person. That's what I like. You always do them knit. You never thought about crochet. And I rarely think to knit things because I grew up learning how to crochet. So like I always crocheted. But I do love this. I have to thank my sister for sending me this yarn, because this was one of the like happy patterns that I make where you go, oh, I just have to leave it sit out so I can look at it. But this was I'm not going to put the whole thing on because I made it to wear over, again, a tank top, so that was my shrug, and then of course I had to put beads on it. So that was the crochet shrug that we did a couple weeks ago. All right. So on that note, I am to the point where I need to just keep. There are many options when you crochet. There's knitting as well. There's so many options. It's just a matter of how you're putting it together. You know, when you're holding your knitting needles, you're basically holding your knitting needles the same way, and you're basically doing the same thing. You're pulling loops through one way or the other, and you're yarning over, and one way or the other. It's just a matter of how you sequence them, just like with crochet with my tutorials. If you can hold your hook and you can hold your yarn and you can yarn over and pull through a loop, you can pretty much do any of this. It's just a matter of like putting it together and realizing how you can put it together. And I love sitting here, and I love the fact that like people will actually listen to my thought process. That would be cute. And I've never seen the cupcake stitch, but just thinking about that sounds cute. But yeah, you could do it either way. And depending on, like the first tutorial, I showed how I did the cuff first and then built my cats off the cuff. And then if you were doing a directional stitch that worked up opposite, you would just start from the center and you would just you would measure around your arm, the fattest part of your arm where you wanted it to be, and that would be your starting chain. And then you would work this way and this way to get your directional stitches the other way. Yes, the crochet stuff will be stretchy. I am using Red Heart acrylic, which doesn't seem like it's stretchy. However, once you wash it, it significantly softens up and it drapes really nice, and it does get a little bit much stretchier actually. Is that crochet cuff stretchy? Yep. It's stretchy enough. It will bounce back. But you could do this with a knit cuff as well. But most of my tutorials are all crochet. But one of the reasons why I taught myself to knit was so that I could do cuffs on sweaters. So you could take your needles and you could knit your cuff, because I just worked this cuff in a straight piece and then I joined it together. So I worked my straight piece and then I joined it together with a seam and then started working my rounds from it. So you could actually do this as a knitted rib for your cuff and then just build your crochet off the side of it. No. Front post and back post is one way that you can do a cuff. This cuff was just simply, I did 5 single crochets. So I chained 6 and worked 5 single crochet, and then I worked back in the back loops. I turned and worked in the back loops, turned and worked in the back loops, like always work in the back loop. And then you get your cuff, you get a strip of a cuff that you can then, on your last row of it, when it's long enough to go around your wrist, you can wrap it around your wrist and it's long enough, you would take that last row of your cuff and you would just join them together. Back loop only. Yep. And then the back loop only gives you the ridges. So I'm working this way. So I worked 5 this way, 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 5 this way. And they're all in the back loop. So it makes it look like that. See, this is 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows, 6 rows, 7 rows, 8 rows. And so yeah, back loop only. And when I started, like the beginning of yesterday's tutorial goes through how I figured out my starting chain and how I figured how many stitches I wanted to make it and how I would incorporate that into my cuff to be able to increase after I made my cuff to do my rounds of cats. Hey, Glenda. Yeah, I never liked crochet cuffs either. This particular one I don't mind. Front post, back post, I'm a little bit wishy-washy on doing that as a cuff. This one I don't mind. Like I said, Yeah, I have the whole process. Like if you go back to yesterday's beginning of the tutorial on my YouTube site, it's it was how to start and measure and do the cuff and go from there. Um, but yeah, that's why I taught myself how to knit so that I could put my cuffs on my sweaters that I crocheted. So it's like a little mashup of everything. But on that note, I am going to keep working my flat panel now back and forth in my rows. Each time I start a new section of cats, I'm going to start from the right side to start my first row. So I'm always going to do 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to start my new color 1, 2, 3, because there's 3 rows in each cat row. And that way these stitches stay looking the same. And then when I get to the point where I can try this on and this comfortably comes over my shoulders and comes to pretty much the center, maybe like give it 2 fingers or so, just to put the last couple of rows to tie, to finish off the last set of cats and make our seam. And then tomorrow we'll do the finishing off the top of this and stitching it together. Yep, NiftyKnotz on YouTube. Just like you were talking about this morning. Totally uncensored. I just go in and take it like it is and just upload the whole thing to YouTube. So all the questions that people ask, that's one of the reasons why in the morning I will read the comments and answer the comments, because I upload this to YouTube and you don't see the comments and things like that at that point. I don't edit it, just like it is. There it goes. Yep. It is what it is. If the dog's walking around panting at me and throwing his ball and his bone, that's where it is. It still sits there. Some mornings I'm running around like a crazy person. That's right, no K in the beginning, but a Z at the end. I have a link in my link tree as well that should take you right to my channel. So that's that. I'm going to finish this evening at least working this part of the sleeve. And I will meet you guys back here tomorrow so we can work on the last row. That's going to be the row that we will use as our seam stitch. Oh yeah, sometimes I'm still making my coffee. Trying to get my dog out the door. And I'm still talking, but whatever. If people want to watch, they'll watch. And I appreciate all of you guys that actually sit here and watch me, because I really, really do appreciate it. Yours is great. I like to sit and watch yours because I don't always get to sit and watch other people's. So, oh, Arlene, you have a great day and happy crocheting as well. I like supporting others as well as teach. I do too. So in the mornings when I see there's a few you guys, when I see you guys on there live, I like to jump on, just say good morning, and you get the count for the engagement if I make a comment, and then you get the likes if I sit there and like tap the screen a few hundred times. So that all counts for us. And why not? There's no reason not to support us. We all do something just a little bit differently. Cindy, you have a great day as well, and I'll probably see you guys tonight. I'm hoping to get a chance to finish this. Oh, you're welcome. Melanie, you are very, very welcome. For any of you guys that are just joining and missed it, you can jump on over to my YouTube channel. Might cost you to subscribe here. It doesn't cost you to subscribe there. And all of these tutorials are uploaded usually by the afternoon, the same day that I do them. So yesterday's the beginning part of the sleeve. Today was splitting it to make the back part of it. And tomorrow we're going to finish the back part of it and figure out how we're going to end it so we can do our second sleeve and then our seam. On that note, thank you guys very, very much. And I will see you guys, some of you guys later and some of you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you.